Thank you, Admiral Rogers, for your extraordinary and distinguished service in so many roles over so many years. I want to focus on the challenges of recruiting young people in an age where the, the best and the brightest who have knowledge in this area have so many opportunities, many of them highly paid and challenging in their professional issues. Young Americans are entering the workforce with computer technology that has been part of their entire lives. Not so much for us of a certain age, but for them, yes. And I wonder if you could tell us how successful you and the obviously incomparably important forces under your command have been in recruiting and maintaining talent in this time, and what we can do to help.
I'm very comfortable with where we are on the uniform side. The same things that lead a young man or woman in our nation to decide they want to pick up a rifle and take on that challenge leads men and women to decide they want to put on a uniform and pick up a keyboard. That has not been the biggest challenge. The area that I've told the team we probably need to take a greater look at is on the civilian side of this. Because we have got, our vision is you've got to create a workforce that is both active and reserve military as well as civilian component to it. So we get that breadth of expertise that you've referenced. While we're meeting our targets right now on the civilian side, as I've said, there's a couple skill sets already where I think I'm going to have to come back to the committee to say, look, I could probably need some help here with, can I come up with some different processes or options that would make things more attractive to particularly some very high-end, very small number of skill sets that I don't have huge numbers of, but they're incredibly valuable for us. That's one area where I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to come back. I have to work this with the department first, but my experience is telling me, you know, Mike, we need to step back and take a look at this piece of it.
Is there sufficient, are there sufficient resources devoted to research, the personnel available to supervise that research and, in effect, planning for the future?
Right. I mean, there's never, I'm not going to pretend for 1 minute that you have all the people and all the money, you know, that you would like. It's, I would argue, characterize it as reasonable right now. It's not a major issue in the sense that as a commander, I've said to myself, wow, we've got a significant deficiency here that will impact our ability to execute the missions. I haven't seen that.
I know that you indicated earlier that you haven't read the GAO report.
Right.
But I wonder, focusing on the local capability, and particularly on the private sector, the infrastructure segment that you mentioned earlier in some of your conversations with my colleagues, transportation, financial, electric, how well are they doing in protecting themselves?
I would, if you look across the 16 segments in the private sector that have been designated as critical infrastructure in terms of impact on the nation's security, I would argue some are ahead of others. I'd probably put financial, for example, not surprising in the sense that has access to more resources than some, has come to the conclusion that cyber potentially calls into question their very business model, since it's built on the idea of trust and the ability to move funds globally simultaneously through these transactions, if you will, that we all believe in and trust. And on the other hand, there are some industries, in their defense, I look at them and they're quick to remind me, hey, remember, our business model is different. We're a regulated industry, for example. In order to generate resources to apply to increase our cyber defense, our cyber capabilities, the only way for us to do that is raise rates, for example. Most consumers not really enthusiastic about that. Most regulatory bodies not necessarily overly enthusiastic about that at the moment.
And those regulated industries would be